Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. I am your host, Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at NewsNewsNeed on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram.
South Carolina with Columbia down the way.
And the sound effects you've heard come from none other than our man in Brooklyn, 1agent_70 on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads.
What's up, everybody? Co-hosting from the Borough of Kings.
No sleep till Brooklyn!
I don't feel so good.
Yeah, because it's hot up here.
And I am assuming that the Threads is still somewhat hot.
It's still up in there. It's still up and running. Up and running.
For now. So, but hey, who's to say? You can find this here podcast on the Coastal Podcast Network, that's ESPN.us.
Do it today.
That's one dot, not two. This is not a goose situation. Which I don't know why that's been in my head lately. It's two goose with two O's. For those of you of a certain vintage or have seen Top Gun recently, I don't know your life. Anywho's, you can also find us on your podcast approval place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Coastal the Podcast Network's SoundCloud page.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, and leave us all the positive 5-star reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts. It helps people find the podcast.
Yeah. Also, for some strange reason, I was about to channel Slick Rick for a second, and we're gonna let that continue to go. You can also find us recording every Thursday night, 9:30ish p.m. Standard you know what I'm saying? Eastern Standard Time on the YouTube channel of The Kliq Nation. That's youtube.com/The Kliq Nation and twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles.
Again, please click like, subscribe, and make sure to hit the notification button so you know when we are broadcasting live and recording.
The ground, we are going to hit it running, unlike someone potentially hitting the ocean in a certain show today that we will not spoil because you don't know what we're talking about. But we will be talking about Star Wars Ahsoka. Right off the bat, which the episode's name was Fallen Jedi, which weirdly had me thinking about the video game and not the couple of potential other references they were trying to make with this. But yeah,
I think the funny part was that it applied to several characters.
Basically. Actually, yeah, most of them. We don't know the one Padawan situation, but yeah, but
several characters. It could apply to several characters in the show.
So quite apt. But if Cal Kestis had showed up in here, I'd have been like, "What the fuck, y'all?"
Right, and I was about to say one particular rumor was in fact debunked. You know, possibly involving Cal Kestis. So. We're not going to go beat for beat, as Roddykat just said in our pre-show meeting, but rather we're just going to hit some of the highs and lows and not really getting into like deep spoiler territory. Otherwise, I would be hitting the spoiler bell. But what I will say is that this is probably the, since we have now technically hit the midpoint of the season, right? And I've always used that as kind of the bar on how to measure how these limited series Disney Plus shows or even HBO Max shows or any of these shows, that we've been reviewing as they go along. Once we hit the midpoint, we need to see movement. We need to see where this could possibly go. We need to see, some sort of, some sort of dynamic change in the story, right? We've seen that. We've got that. Episode 4 had a lot of that. We have a lot of progress towards one character reveal. We had an interesting surprise character reveal, slash cameo slash return in this episode. I won't spoil it, but it was pretty big. It was a pretty big surprise.
And
a concept
news has also
return.
been out there.
What's that?
I was just gonna say all that's been out there. That news has been out there about who shows up, but yeah.
Well, Roddykat is much more in tune with the social, so he's just like, yeah, I know what's happening. I have no idea. I'm a normal, so I am not as there was a time when I was definitely tuned into the social, so and being on top of rumors and whatnot. But my point being that they also reintroduced the concept. That's all I wanted to say. You can go on.
Okay, concept. Gotcha. Oh,
it's a concept. I don't want to get any more deeper into that because that involves spoiling.
And
but there's a concept that is reintroduced from the animated series, the various animated series, and seeing it in real life. I could kind of see it from it was kind of reminiscent of the Game of Thrones ending credits sequence that this show kind of has. And then when they brought this out, they reintroduced this concept in live action. I was like, oh, of course they would. So take it from there.
I was about to say, you lost me on the Game of Thrones reference because I never watched that show. But the only other thing I'm just going to say is that someone shows up that I kind of wondered last week whether they were going to show up or not, and they did. So I was like, okay, there we go. That check mark has been checked. Outside of that, there was a thing that Agent 79 and I were talking about before the show that was that we both agreed that was clearly telegraphed. That came out that happened early in the show that ended up I guess paying off or near the end of the show, which goes into what Agent 70 is saying about the headway that we're getting in the story in a way.
That's at least one aspect,
right? That
we're getting some headway. Like the MacGuffin, as it were, that they were seeking out was actually used in this episode. So that's one thing that helped to get the story moving giving this. That's one thing that gave the story forward momentum. Is that they finally got the they finally got the MacGuffin to do what it is they needed it to do.
Right. So, which brings me to something else that has been theorized that I'm going to poke at for one quick second. Because there's really not much else to say about the show that's not going to go into spoiler territory. But there is a theory about part of Ahsoka and Sabine's quest that I can't see being the case as people are theorizing at it, unless something happened. But then I feel like we may or may not have seen something along those lines by now. And there's a prevailing theory about, like I said, well, I've said enough because there's a prevailing theory about someone showing up during the course of this that who they're looking for, and I can't see how that person could have already be in a place where people are trying to get to.
Mm-hmm.
So that seems kind of, I was like, I'm not sure how that theory holds up thinking about that. Which is weird because I thought about that during the course of watching the show. I'm like, wait a minute, hold up. Granted, the character people are questioning didn't show up. No, wait, no. I guess that was them, and I guess that now that I think about it, that might have been the other place where the theory got poked a hole in, or maybe not. Actually, I don't.
You lost me on that part. I was just going to mention that we did see a version of the holdo maneuver pulled off.
Yes.
And that scared the hell out of me. I was like, no!
Right.
No! I was like, get out of the way!
And they were right. And I was like, well, but the thing about it wasn't going to go I knew it wasn't going to go the exact way we would say Wayne, but I thought something else was going to happen. Like they were going to get pulled along or something. But I don't think that's how hyperspace works. But it clearly, clearly something happened. So yeah, I thought about that too. I was like, oh well, it's gonna get holdoed.
I was like, no, not the Asian character too, but thankfully he made it out. Spoiler
Which is the
alert.
character I was talking about from last week. Yes.
Yeah. I was like, not him too.
Yeah, I actually thought about that for one brief second. Like, they're not going to do that to him, but he got to say the thing. I was so happy about that because I know he's a big Star Wars fan. So
yeah,
he got to say the thing, and I was just like that made me smile way big. But anyway, outside of that, I'm looking forward to next week because there's really not much else to say about that. There was some conversation about stuff that I'm sure that's going to come up again during the course of this. If not next week, then by the time a couple of pieces get back into the same place, which that's definitely where they're going with how they're playing this out. So, with like Agent 7 said, the MacGuffin that gets reintroduced into this is definitely going to be the bridge. Almost quite literally into.
Oh no, that wasn't the MacGuffin that I was referring to.
You're talking about that. Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but from that, yeah.
Yeah, but the concept that I was referring to earlier,
right,
that's introduced is quite literally the connective tissue between the first half of the season and the second half.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's Ahsoka. Now we're going to get into the season finale of My Adventures with Superman, which was episode 10.
Yes, episode 10, which was called something about fathers.
Yeah, actually I forgot what it was. I wanted to say Faith of the Fathers, but that doesn't sound right.
No, I literally just had it up, so I didn't pay too much attention to the title, so I'm just mildly curious as to what the title was. Just give me a moment, folks, and I will have that for you. Hearts of the Fathers.
There we go.
Hearts of the Fathers. And there are a couple of father characters that play roles in this episode, chiefly General Lane. And there are revelations to the characters, not necessarily to the viewers, but to the characters here. And those revelations play a big role in how this episode plays out. Mm-hmm. Between, father and child and father and child's friend / love interest.
Right. There was a potential other revelation that probably could have happened that still hasn't. Well, it happened towards the audience, but we already knew that is not given to the character, specifically the main character, that I guess they're still going to tour around with a little bit more. But yeah, and at the end we get to see who's kind of who was behind Zero Day, I guess. I think we can pretty much put that piece into play.
Right.
And it's not surprising because well, I guess it's not surprising if you know Superman lore enough. Hell, even if you've seen the old movies, I guess, until you can kind of.
I was gonna say it's more of a. I don't want to say more of a recent kind of conversion to, help enhance Superman's rogues gallery, as it were. Mm-hmm. This character really wasn't around that much until let's say the last 15 years.
Right. But the other one,
we always knew Lex was number one, right? But this character has been elevated to, if not 1A, number 2. Hmm. So it's no surprise that he would be introduced in this series. I wanted to mention something that Roddykat and I were discussing in the pre-production meeting just prior to recording, and that being how there are a lot of kind of tried and true Superman origin concepts that we generally hold to be canon that are still left up in the air and unestablished in this series. We're not going to go into all of them because it is worth it, I think, for our viewing and listening audience to, if they haven't already, go back and watch My Adventures with Superman. It's only 10 episodes right now for the first season. It's worth it. I think you'll enjoy it, and you will you'll realize that the story that you are receiving, that they are giving you, is not necessarily what you're used to. There are definitely twists on old and continuing themes in the story, in the Superman story, but there are some things that are left unsaid that until we get to at least season 2, we're left thinking about at the end of episode 10. So, and Roddykat and I were discussing what's still kind of up in the air, and it's really curious that they would leave something as basic as why Clark is on Earth up in the air.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's a spoiler, but it's a mild one, but it'll sit with you once you finish episode 10 and realize that that's still up in the air.
Right. And I suspect there's probably going to be a difference into what is known and what ends up coming to be the case at this point. But I guess that'll be for next season or whatever, what have you. I was going to say, you mentioned Lex. I'm kind of surprised we actually haven't been introduced to Lex yet at this point.
Not directly. He's there.
Right.
He was in an episode, but
wait, was it?
They haven't really come out yet.
Yeah, that must be another thing that I didn't remember hearing about. Because I feel like there might have been a reference or something, but
they introduced a character, I believe, named Alexander.
Oh, right. So I'm assuming. No, that's pretty good. Yeah. Okay, I totally didn't. Yes, I forgot about that character. Yeah, because it's come up a couple of different times. So, and that would be a slightly different version of that character if that
exactly, because they have introduced all sorts of different Lex Luthors in the past. Right. The small. What's interesting is that the Smallville one is actually the closest to the classic version where they grew up together.
Right.
So
Smallville. I almost put that.
Which I didn't. Which obviously I haven't watched, but even when it was on TV, as a current show, I was not watching that.
I think I remember watching it the first season, and it was like, okay, this is way too CW for me, so I checked out. and then I heard about the stuff they did later on, and him and how it ended or whatnot. I was like, okay, well, I suppose I missed something, but not much. But yeah, so the other thing I was going to say is to go on something that Agent 70 said, and then we can kind of wrap this up for that. I agree with him about, this is definitely a different version, because it very much is a different take on the Superman mythos that we know about. In fact, there's an episode that Agent 70 referenced before the show that pretty much lets people, at least people that would know any better or know different, that this is definitely a different take on the character. Like, you can see that from the start, mind you, if you know the basics about Superman origin and what is known and what isn't known. But like I said, there's one episode that's like, okay, no, this is definitely a different different thing. And it's also the same episode that pretty much mentions the multiverse. So, but it is a good show, I think. And like Agent 70 said, like, it's worth your time to watch. And it's only some episodes if you're a fan of Superman. Like, it's a different take, but it's a different take that's actually so far has been a good watch. Into the space. And with that, I think we are going to, unless Agent 70 has something else.
No, not for those two shows.
Okay. I'm going to quickly mention the fact that Star Trek, excuse me, here we go. Star Trek Lower Decks also premiered its 4th season tonight, as of today, as of this recording. There's 2 episodes out there, and I assume it's going to go 10, like the last couple of the last 3 seasons have done. But yeah, there are 2 episodes out there right now. I have not watched them yet because it just came out today, and I was like, I'll watch them later. But yeah, that's Lower Decks. The Deckers are back, and I know probably shout out to Matt Wayne 97, who's probably already watch it when he has time. So with that, we're going to get into the books of the week. Starting off with, what did we say? Fantastic Four.
Meanwhile, at the Hall of Justice.
Sorry about that. I stepped on you. Go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good. Matter of fact, you just go ahead and play it again.
Meanwhile, at the Hall of Justice.
I can edit that. I probably won't. Fantastic Four number 11 is what we're starting off with.
Fantastic Four number 11 is written by Ryan North with art by Ivan Coelho, colors by Jesus Bertov, and letters by our favorite lettering paisan, the hardest working letterer at VC's Joe Caramagna. This is seemingly a one-off. We've gotten several story arcs in Ryan North's run on Fantastic Four. This is seemingly a one-off, but what a one-off story it is, because it is very much in the vein of a family-based story, because it involves, I guess I can't really spoil it because it is on the cover. So if you look at the cover, there is in fact a beast. Not the beast, but it is a beast. And interestingly, this is how Benji Grimm refers to this particular animal throughout most of this issue. But as stories like this tend to go, things don't play out the way Ben Grimm wants. And, things are not always as they seem, literally, in this issue. And the beast, as it were, becomes a friend to one Ben J. Grimm.
Yeah, there's a new addition. Might as well go ahead and say it. There's a new addition to the family. It is all but said during the course of this issue. Although the beginning of this issue kind of messed me up for like 30 seconds, because it was like, wait. Because it starts off with Ben feeling a certain way about this particular animal, or this particular species of animal, I guess. And I was like, wait, I know better. And I think even one of the other characters, probably Alicia, somebody kind of mentioned as much. Or it was either Alicia or Johnny. It was a way. One other character kind of mentioned those. I was like, no. And I know one of the last times I've seen Ben, he was with a certain Inhuman that looks similar to this creature, and I'm saying like, nah, I know better. Like the ever loving blue eyed thing is friend to the pooches, so I know better. But so it's kind of weird.
Yeah, I was gonna say there was a little bit of Ben pulling out some science and his test pilot skills,
which is cool.
Which was a nice aside, because this was very much a Ben-centric issue. Mm-hmm. You had to have a little bit of science in an FF book.
Right. And it didn't come from Reed this time, although Reed was referenced. So yeah, that part, I enjoyed that, because like, hey, people tend to forget he was a test pilot, before everything happened. So I was like, oh, look at old Benji getting those smarts in during the course of all this mess. So, but yeah, this was a pretty great issue. Potential click of the week for me.
Yeah, same.
And I've been enjoying the kind of the these little 1 and 2 offs Ryan North and crew has been doing. We don't guess I would say we don't get too many of these because it's slightly harkens back to old books when they when in between arcs or runs they would kind of have like a 1-off or 2-off story in transition to the next story or whatever the case may be. So it's good to see. Now that being said, I kind of thought that there was going to be something impossible going on with this whole thing, and the person who ends up being the adversary here was not a was not a character that I had ever heard of. In fact, I just ended up looking them up to now to remember that. I was like, wait, it is not the character that you know of with a similar name. But this was definitely a deep cut.
Oh, yeah.
I
was about to say you need to break out your Googles or Hot Move to check this character out.
I would be surprised if this character was not even in the Hot Mood. Let's put it that way.
All right, now that's a challenge. Now I'm going to turn around to the bookshelf and check that out.
Yes. And while he's doing that, yeah, I would be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if it was.
I'll start with the first Ohatmu.
He's going through pulling all of them. By the way, that omnibus is out. Wait, is it out? I think it is out for sale, right?
Which one?
The Ohatmu omnibus. The one that's like $100.
A bunch of them. Oh no, I mean that's been out. It's out of print now.
No, I thought there's a new version that they that does.
Oh yeah, like a brand new, like the deluxe version. Yeah. So that's coming out. All right, so this character is not in the first one.
Okay, so I was right
so
far.
First. In the first one. Let's see if the character's in the deluxe version.
This is just such a, well, I would say it's a one-off character, but apparently this character showed up a couple of times, but still.
Yeah, I was about to say, I recognize the name, I just don't know where I've seen the character.
Well, I recognize the name, but the name is for a different character. Right.
All right. Not in the deluxe edition.
Mm-hmm. He didn't even warrant.
Let's see. Was he dead?
So here's the funny part. I'm glad you mentioned that because I'm looking at the Wikipedia, and it says that, and I'm not going to say the name of the character, but this character becomes one of the many minor Marvel Comics supervillains to be killed by the Scourge of the Underworld. But is resurrected.
Deluxe edition. He is in the deluxe edition.
Okay.
Book of the Dead, I think.
Okay, but is resurrected much later by the demon Dormammu as a parasite of Hood. And I'm assuming that means it's the Hood.
Yeah, no, he's definitely in the deluxe edition. That is funny stuff.
Okay, so yeah, so
he's in the Book of the Dead. He's definitely in the Book of the Dead.
Mm-hmm. Didn't want to, so at the time, right, so at the time that deluxe was made, was after justice was served.
That's funny as hell.
So anyway,
I was about to say, I love, what's funny is, as much as I would love to have the color versions, having these essential versions is still great.
Hold those up real quick. I got the camera on you. Just hold those up for the folks. Yeah, there we go. Let's see all that goodness. Yeah, folks. See, back before the internet, kids, we used to have to get the character information from books such as that.
Yeah, from the original comics that constitute these trade paperbacks.
Right. And DC also had a set of them. Actually, I think they also have a omnibus that is either coming out or out, a new version of.
It's out. You can get it.
Okay, so then the new version is out already?
Yeah, the Who's Who, the omnibus.
Yeah.
Okay. It's out.
DC's bullshit is crazy, so I don't know. I think I've probably said it before. I would probably get it just to be like, what the, who are they? Just to flip through.
Yeah. Yeah, I was about to say it. Like, I've definitely given buying the Who's Who the original Who's Who omnibus serious thought.
Right. Yeah.
So just to see how much things have changed.
Because I have the original Hotmu. Well, I should hopefully still have the original Hotmu issues somewhere, and I might end up buying the omnibus. But yeah, I've never bought Who's Who, the DC stuff, because no.
Yeah, I kind of regret not buying the omnibus, the original omnibus, like the very first version, in omnibus form in color, just so I could put it on my bookshelf. I kind of regret it now, even though we talked about it when it was coming out. I was like, oh, this would be great to have. I was like, oh, do I really need it on my shelf? So I kind of hemmed and hawed, and now it's out of print. So at the end of the day, I could probably find it used. It is on my list of things to look for at New York Comic Con, which is coming up soon.
Indeed.
And, because I'm not looking for back issues technically anymore. So that might be something that I'll try to look for on Sunday and see if I could, so, I don't have to drag it around all day any of the other days of the con, or maybe pick it up on my way out on Thursday. So that I don't have to carry it during the weekend.
Right. Well, we'll see how that works out come that time in a couple of months. But for now, let us move on to the X corner of the Marvel Universe with Immortal X-Men number 15.
Immortal X-Men number 15 is written by Kieron Gillen, with art by Paco Medina, colors by David Curiel, and letters by V.C. Clayton Cowell. So this is one branch of the one part of the X Corner, where one branch of the story that is following several characters who are dealing with the remnants of Krakoa. This is what and as well as a group of refugees from Krakoa who find themselves lost in the wilderness, much like the Israelites in the desert. So this is that branch of the story, and we're following these two groups as one group tries to lay siege to Krakoa, which is being defended by a lone mutant. And the other group, the group that finds themselves in the wilderness, as it were, are beset by various, let's say, analogies to biblical concepts.
One of which come in the form of some of a person they are familiar with, and if you're watching the video version, you can see who I'm talking about.
Right.
So we get a small question answered, which opens up a whole nother set of questions. Well, one question at the very least. Because one group ends up we still don't know where the latter group Agent 70 was talking about is, but we see where they end up, and which answers one question that was from what seemingly one-off thing in Sins of Sinister, or near the end of Sins of Sinister, I think. But we still don't know what in the world's going on with that. Put it that way.
Right.
But yeah, there's a potential diehard situation that I thought they were going to go with the other part of that story, which I guess kind of can still be the case. They just don't show it. And then someone pops up at the end, which I think Agent 70 can probably clue me in on. Although I could probably suspect where this character came back into play from, if this character is indeed back into play properly. Because the story that I think that would have probably handled that, or the two stories that would have handled that, I did not read yet, so I guess it probably should kind of.
Yeah, that's exactly where it was.
Yeah,
so
kind of figured, but so. But that being said, hey, that's Immortal 15. There's some amusing dialogue between, some would say amusing dialogue between Sebastian Shaw and Celine during the course of this. I'm like, okay.
I am thoroughly enjoying Destiny being useless and annoying. I'm like, yes, keep writing her as being useless and annoying.
Oh, stop it.
Freaking Destiny.
Yes, Agent 70 has never cared for her, even when she became young and hot.
Yeah, useless and annoying.
Or as has been said anyway. And with that, we will push over to the other book in the X corner, which would be, well, actually, there probably was another one, or at least that's from what we've gotten. X-Men number 26.
Yes, X-Men number 26 is written by Jerry Duggan with art by Jim Toe and Javier Pina, colors by Marte Gracia, and letters by VC's Clayton Cowell. So this, as I said earlier, is another aspect, another corner, another branch of this Fall of X storyline. This issue follows some of the more, I guess, core characters of the X-Men that we've been following throughout these Fall of X, throughout the days of Fall of X, and we're seeing what certain characters are doing to fight back and resist against Orcus. So, we actually pick up the threads of several stories. We pick up the threads of Emma Frost and Tony Stark's story, as well as, believe it or not, the Kingpin story. We pick up on what Kamala Khan is doing, as well as with what Kate Pryde and Angelica Jones are doing. That's probably the most fun part of this issue, because it involves a big fight sequence and a nice reveal where things do not get out of hand, but the status quo remains because certain aspects of the story need to play out.
Right.
And it's teased at the end of the issue what we have talked about in the news, which is Tony Stark and Emma Frost tying the knot.
Right. I feel like X-Men, adjectives with X-Men, I guess we can call it, has been the book that has pretty much filled in the blanks for the other books. Or at least in the last few issues. Because, like, certain things like the Kingpin getting introduced and whatnot, which I think that was probably, that might have been in X-Men, I don't remember. Regardless, into the X corner like this, and we don't really get a sense of what he was, what's going to happen to him at the time until the gala and everything popped off. And then the kind of other little separate stories that are coming together are kind of being explained how they get to that point, or how we're getting to that point in the pages of this book. So, which I guess in that sense makes X-Men kind of an essential book in that respect. Like, yeah, you're getting some of this, you're getting a lot of this in the other books, but like there is some, like, here's a little bit of some time that are accounted for, that would account to why this ends up happening type situations going on from the other books. And I say other books, it's not like there are many X books out there at the point, but the point still stands.
Right.
So yeah, it's been good stuff so far. That like it just said, that whole last part with Kate and Angelica was like, wasn't sure how that was going to end up, but you kind of could, figured it wasn't going to end up like how you think it was going to, and so it worked out. And now they're going to the next part, which is going to possibly answer another question if that image page for the next issue is to be believed.
Right.
And was I think asked about it either here or, no, I think it was asked about here because there was going to be another mission going on until the obvious snag happened. So, but yeah, that was X-Men 26. You can see the one of the variant covers if you're watching the video version, but you could also see this other variant cover here. And we can move on to, I guess, well, rapid fire for myself, because that's all
Yes.
the 70s books.
Yep. So I will spin it up for the rapid fire review time.
I ain't got time to bleed.
All right, folks. We had a weird week this week because we didn't get all of the books we would have been. Otherwise, we probably would have had a little bit more, or Agents of it would have had more books to talk about. But for me, I would have also. Star Trek Defiant #7 is the book start off with, written by Christopher Cantwell with art by Angel Onzueta, colors by Marissa Louise, and letters by Clayton Cowles. So this is part 4 of that Day of Blood, and I have the wrong book up being shown. That is awesome. We'll get to that one in a second because there is a through line here for that particular book. Sorta. Where are you, book? Here we go. There we go. Star Trek Defiant #7. I already said all that. This is another potential click of the week for myself. Looks at part 4 of 5 for the Day of Blood crossover series from the ongoing the Star Trek ongoing in this book. Sisko and Worf pretty much make it to see Kliqs, or I was about to say the Wizard, but that's not how this is playing off. But Worf's son Alexander is kind of in the way, so Worf is dealing with that while Ben with Sisko is trying to deal with Kliqs. But thinking he was getting the upper hand, Kliqs may have possibly made a big mistake that is going to probably bite him in the ass in the next part of this. Meanwhile, the crews of the Defiant and the Theseus are fighting for their lives out in space, and they come together in a most Star Trek way, without there being a tailpipe involved. And there is that.
Is there a banana?
There is not. No. This Trekkies would know what I'm referencing there.
Right. And the pop culture nerds will know what I was referencing.
Yes. The Venn diagram on that one on this show for me is like a perfect circle. Next book is Steelworks #4 of 6. And I said there was a through line here, which there kind of is, because the book is written by one Michael Dorn, aka Star Trek's Worf. Now you kind of wonder why he's not writing Star Trek Defiant. Hey, who knows, man? But art is being done by Sam Basri and Vicente Cifuentes, colors by Andrew Dahlhaus, and letters by Rob Lee. So again, I said Steelworks is for #6, if I didn't say, because it's a miniseries. So Steel, one John Henry Irons, is pretty much putting the pieces together as to why things have been happening throughout this miniseries. But before he kind of fully does that, he's visited once again by a character that I'm calling the Ghost, aka like Marvel's Ghost, because they have a similar power set. But the character's called the Silver Mist, and John also finds out his connection to this character, or at least finds out who this character is during the course of this issue. So, but we also find out that as smart as John is, apparently his enemies kind of one-upped him, but he doesn't know that just yet. But we'll find out next issue, where there is a familiar-looking mechanical thing that's going to come into play next issue. So we will see how that plays out. Next up is City Boy #4 of 6. Excuse me. You think I've been talking too much, but I haven't actually said much today. Written by Greg Pak, art by Ming-Yu Jung, colors by Sebastian Cheng, letters by Wes Abbott. So Cameron goes to Bloodhaven, and if you know the current goings on in Bloodhaven, you know who's going to show up. And if you're watching the video version of the show, you also know because it's right there in the cover. And apparently these two characters have met previously, but it was in the previous event prior to Dawn of DC, which I had not read, which led up into and I guess was the introduction of City Boy in this thing. But nevertheless, there's some teaching lessons happening. There's some angst happening. There's a little bit of hey, I help you, you help me situation going on, and of course Dick still being the big brother to every other either superhero or wannabe superhero that comes across. He wants to be a good role model, and he is, because that's what Dick does. Dick Grayson, not anyway. And yeah, the audience gets confirmation about something or someone that is behind who's trying to get after young Cameron and his powers to talk to the city. Like I said, we already know this, but now it's kind of getting out there a little bit more, and has been said by name at this point. Next up, it looks as though young Cam is going to be meeting up with a thing from the swamp, according to the last page of this book. So we'll see how that works out. Last book for me is actually still in the DC corner with Fire and Ice, Welcome to Smallville #1 of 6. Script by Joanne Starrer, art by Natasha Bustos, colors by Tamara Bonvillain, and letters by Ariana Maher. So, after the events of the Power Girl special, which was probably like a good month ago at this point, Fire and Ice, who are, let's just say, lesser-known DC heroes in the grand stream of things, have been relocated to Smallville, thanks to Superman, thanks to some intervention by Superman. And no thanks to Guy Gardner, who, if you did not read that Power Girl special, kind of had a hand in some things going all kind of crazy. And it's Guy Gardner, so big surprise there. One of the ladies, Fire, is kind of having some problems kind of acclimating because she wants to make a name for herself in the superhero biz, while the other one is just like, I just want to chill and try to regroup and rethink, but of course you don't have a character named Fire who's also kind of hot-blooded, even though they're dressed in green, and them not playing the type. So, but of course, with this being a book that has to do with a certain other main character's hometown, of course they show up because one of the ladies starts off a thing that brings some trouble to the town, to some slight amusing effect. So there is that. But hey, we'll see how things go for them going forward, because another lesser known DC character looks like is going to come into play next issue. And that, folks, is it for me. Kliqs of the week.
Kliqs of the week.
Jokingly, but not really jokingly, we were talking in our group chat about one of our absent co-hosts' picks, and it does actually happen to be Star Trek Defiant #7.
There it is.
I can say,
and which I was about to say, which co-host that is too.
Yeah, yes, that is Dirt. If there happen to be anybody who's a little bit new and don't know, another big Star Trek fan on the panel. So there is that. I will say that Star Trek Defiant is a potential for me, as well as Fantastic Four #11. at this point, and I'm still kind of mull that out. So I don't know if Agent 70 has his Kliq.
No, I've got mine. And, as much as I liked X-Men this week, because as for much the same reasons that Roddykat mentioned, X-Men number 26, that is, of how this issue proved to be the glue, as it were, to keep the Follow X storyline together for the readers. And, this issue is very good at keeping pace with where the story should be going at this point. So, it moved several story threads, several stories along, carrying along several story threads. But I think my Kliq of the week is going to be Fantastic Four number 11, because I just enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm. And if folks on the video version saw, I put it up probably about 30 seconds before he said it, because I kind of figured that's where he was going with it.
Right. I mean, I had talked about that probably being my Kliq of the week.
Right. And
just before. So.
Right. And like I said, I can totally understand it, because that was a very good, one and done read, or I guess potentially one and done. Who's to say, maybe something out of this is gonna carry forward. Well, something in it is carrying forward, but something a little bit more, something as significant, I guess I could say, will carry forward. This would be one of those times where I'd be like, why not both? But I'm not gonna do that. Because there have been times in the past that has been the case. So, I think I'm actually going to go with I did enjoy Fantastic Four 11 very much, but I think I'm actually also going to go with Star Trek Defiant number 7.
There you go.
I am very curious to see what's going to happen in the I guess in Star Trek the Star Trek ongoing. Coming out of the last page, because that's something straight. It seems like something straight out of Dragon Ball. Speaking of, so that's kind of funny with what happened. And with that, like I said, and without any due spoilers, we are going to go into the news section. But first, an ad read.
Our first ad read of the night is for Wink, the personalized wine club. Wink is a world of wine delivered right to your door. From rosé to Cabernet to Torronté, Wink has over 100 styles of wine to discover. Ever try an orange wine? Wink connects you to a world of exclusive wines tailored to your taste and delivered directly to your door. Wink delivers 4 bottles of wine to you every month with free shipping. You can pick your own bottles or let Wink choose and match to your taste. It doesn't cost a thing to become a member, and you can skip or cancel anytime. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can enjoy an exclusive discount of $20 off your first order. To place your first order with $20 off and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us/wink. That's cspn.us/WINC. Wink wines through CSPN. Do it today. And now we get into the news.
And we get into the cinematic news as we do about this time. First up is some news that Agent 70 I know was excited about. New Godzilla Minus One trailer takes the Kaiju King back to his metaphorical roots. He has seen the trailer. I have not at this point, but I'm probably going to watch it later. Your thoughts?
Oh, it's a lot of fun. It's very much a modern retelling of kind of the first Godzilla movie, and what, a slightly different view of Godzilla's emergence post-World War II would be like for a post-war Japan. So that's where the whole concept of minus one comes from, because if Japan is at its lowest point post-World War II, it drops into the negative when Godzilla appears. So that is, I believe, the concept behind the title. And I think it's going to be worthwhile to go see this live in the theaters. I plan on being there opening night. It's going to be probably a movie protocol for me. So, we'll see when that happens in December. It is not a SAG-AFTRA thing, so we probably won't have a delay on it.
Yeah, no, and I think it was pretty much done at this point anyway, from I guess from news accounts. So, they're just doing post stuff.
Right.
Next up, though,
Ron Perlman would love to come back as Hellboy to complete the trilogy. Hellboy star Ron Perlman is still the live-action version of Hellboy that most people recognize. Unfortunately, he and director Guillermo del Toro never got to finish their planned trilogy of Hellboy films. Let's see. While there's no indication that del Toro will ever get to make his Hellboy 3 movie, Ron Perlman would still love to reprise the role one final time to close out the trilogy. Okay.
Yeah, according to this article, I totally forgot about this. David Harbour played the most recent Hellboy, and according to this article, that movie wasn't great.
Right. That's why I said, that's why I kind of editorialized my own reading of the article of the story by saying that Ron Perlman's Hellboy is still the most recognizable Hellboy.
Right. But apparently there's going to be another Hellboy movie with another different actor, according to this article. So that's like, wow. That's a whole thing. Yeah, that's a whole thing, I guess. Folks, y'all know the voice. Anytime you hear the voice of Optimus Prime, one name comes to mind, and that would be, would come to mind if you actually paid attention to who voiced it, and that's the name of Peter Cullen. What you may or may not know is that Peter Cullen also voiced the voice of in Michael Bay's Transformers movie, but apparently, according to this article, he had to audition for it, which I can only imagine the audition going, "I'm the voice of Optimus Prime, bitch."
Huh.
But no, according to this article, so apparently I guess they're reaching back for this one. They're saying in 2022 for the film's 15th anniversary. It's been 15 years since that first Michael Bay and the Transformers. That is wild. It says here that Peter Cullen spoke about his journey to voicing Optimus Prime in the cartoon, and going into the Michael Bay movie. And it says, a quote, "When I first auditioned for Michael Bay, a young girl was going to read the lines of another character," Cullen said. "We looked at the script and it said Ironhide. I actually played Ironhide in the cartoon as well." And it says here that realizing this could give him an advantage over everyone else, Cullen asked if he could read both sets of lines, alternating between Optimus Prime and Ironhide, both of which he played. And Bay was stunned by the ask, not realizing that this was a pretty common practice for many voiceover artists. Said Frank Welker, one of the great voice actors of all time, he'd do Megatron and like 5 other voices, which is true because he's still out there doing a whole bunch. So we always ended up talking to ourselves, as it were. So that was a fun little quote that I had to read. But imagine being an iconic voice having to I know it happens, and you gotta go through the thing, but having to an audition for a role that you've pretty much been doing for years. That was funny. Like I said, I'd have been like, "I'm Optimus Prime, bitch." What? Anyway, next up.
Alrighty, so you can help celebrate 50 years of Star Trek animation with the launch of Star Trek Very Short Treks. So Star Trek continues its salute to the 50th anniversary of Star Trek the Animated Series with the launch of Star Trek Very Short Treks 5, all new animated promotional shorts, and the new comic book, Star Trek the Animated Celebration Presents The Skymer Barrier. Both debuting on Friday, September 8th, mere minutes from now, as of the time of this recording, as part of the annual Star Trek Day Global Celebration. All right.
Yes. You want me to finish it up or?
No, I was going to say the first animated spot will launch on Star Trek Day, September 8th, which I did not know was Star Trek Day. Exclusively on StarTrek.com and the official Star Trek YouTube channel, with 4 additional animated spots rolling out weekly on Wednesdays through October 4th at 10 o'clock a.m. Pacific time, 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. Okay.
Yeah, so this article also has the release dates of all the short treks. Also worth noting that yes, tomorrow is Star Trek Day, and they have a few different things planned, including I don't know if it's an all day live stream, but I think something we talked about last week. Or we might not talk about that part, but yeah, they have live stream plans on Paramount Plus on that day, and of course I already said earlier that Star Trek Lower Decks season 4 has already started as of today. What wasn't mentioned already in this article is some of the names involved with this with these short treks, such as Star Trek notables such as Jonathan Frakes, Gates McFadden, Ethan Peck, Connor Trenier, if you're an Enterprise fan, George Takei as Sulu, amongst others, and some other folks from Strange from New World like Celia Rose Gooding, and so on. But yeah, this is going to be interesting. I will definitely end up checking them out, and hopefully we'll be letting folks know when I check them out. Next up, though, actually we probably don't have to talk about too much about this, actually, because it's going back to Star Trek Lower Decks, which is season 4, which I said has already started, but apparently the show. This season was inspired by a season 2 episode to quote unquote change things up in a funny way. And this article kind of goes into that. Oh, right. That episode. Okay. So yeah, there was an episode in season 2 which pretty much shed light on other lower decks and other ships in other factions in the Star Trek universe, which was kind of actually amusing. And now I guess they're doing something with that, for that, which you could see. If you are up on Lower Decks and saw the last episode of last season, you can see something already changing, or there's going to be additions to the cast. Let's just say. Next up, though.
All right. So this article is just kind of a primer on the relationship between Ezra Bridger and Sabine Wren, noting how their relationship started, developed, and how it seems to have changed into something else, or at least seem to develop into something else in the most recent episode of Ahsoka. So take a look at this article when you have a chance. Look it up in our show notes.
Yeah. And speaking of Ahsoka, I almost sent this to Agent 70 well before the show, but Ahsoka showrunner had one request for Mary Elizabeth Winstead before filming, and that's basically was to go back and watch the episodes of Rebels to kind of get a little bit more, about the character and her love of flying, so to speak. That's not even so to speak, but yeah, that's pretty much what it was. So, is there some? Yeah, that was just Rebels. So yeah. Next up.
All righty. In an exclusive to comicbookmovie.com, X-Men 97 rogue actress Lenore Zahn says fans should buckle up for a wild ride, sugar, in MCU revival. Okay, and that's it. I'm not going to go into all of it, but yeah, that's what she says. Buckle up.
And then she screamed like a banshee, and her powers went wild.
Oh no,
that's a X-Men TAS reference. Y'all know it. Anywho, Marvel shuffles TV calendar with new dates for Agatha, Echo, and X-Men 97. Speaking of, and also before I go any further. A show was taken off of the schedule. So Loki season 2 is pretty much going to be the only Disney Plus show, Marvel Disney Plus show that's going to premiere this fall. Says the second season of I'll take it back. What If is going to debut around Christmas Day. According to this, Echo was originally announced for November 29th, but is moved to January. And Ironheart, which was originally supposed to drop sometime this fall, is now off the books, is off the schedule for reasons unknown. It says here that the shooting was finished, but its completion is affected by the strikes. Daredevil Born Again also was expected to debut in spring 2024, as was Wonder Man, but both have been paused amid strikes. The Agatha Harkness show, Coven of Chaos, has also been pushed back to fall 2024. So that's, and X-Men 97 is also is pushed back to 2024. So there you go. A lot of shows pushed, one taken off the books, or off the schedule for some reason, or for reasons. And there you go. So we're still getting Loki next month. Next up.
Right. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, until the studios decide to be fair to the writers and actors, we're not going to be done finding out about these delays and things getting pushed back or off the calendar.
Sure.
So don't be disappointed. It's the studio's fault.
It's the studio's head's fault. Yes.
Right.
Specifically.
So, all right. Next up, Goosebumps, the new TV series from Disney Plus, premieres Friday the 13th. So it premieres Friday the 13th of October. I had no idea that the October 13th was a Friday. I have something scheduled for the Wednesday after, but I did not notice that Friday the 13th was actually in October this year.
Well, guess what? Now you do, and 90s kids rejoice because I guess this is what, the second, probably third iteration of a live action Goosebumps, or All You Alone in the Dark, something like that. I don't know. But regardless, hey, there you go.
It's after my time, folks. It's after my time.
Same here. Next up, though. Oh God.
No, I was about to say, I'm like, what? I was about to say, where did you get that sound clip from?
No, I didn't. It was a ad on the site that popped up.
I love it.
Yeah, I hate it. Blue Beetle flies above 100 million at the global box office. So yeah, Blue Beetle's still making money. By the way, there was a Blue Beetle book that came out this week, but didn't get a chance to check it out. So next up.
All right, Scott Pilgrim takes off, releases new images ahead of its premiere. So it's going to premiere this fall on Netflix, releasing November 19th, and we have some images of the new anime.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to that. And this puts us squarely into the anime corner. Blink. So pretty much everything there is to know. Well, I don't know, these articles are a little, false at best. But here's an article that claims to have everything that we know about Spy Family Season 2, which is coming in the next month or two. I'm not going to go through this whole thing, but hey, if you're looking, I'm just looking to see if it actually has a release date. There is a trailer attached, which I think that trailer may or may not have been released already, if I'm not mistaken. It says here that Season 2 is expected to adapt chapters 37 through 76 of the manga. So if you're up on that, there you go. And still looking for... we talked about the movie before, which is Spy Family Code White, which is set to be released my mommy's birthday, hey, December 22nd, 2023. But that's pretty much all. Oh wait, it says. So yeah, that's pretty much all we know at this point. Next up.
All right, the Cowboy Bebop anime studio announces a surprise sequel to a classic mech series. So nearly 2 decades after its initial run, the short-lived mecha anime Zigapane is returning in an all-new series with a different twist. So it is a cult classic series, and the production studio Sunrise has announced its return, as revealed in an August 31st, 2023 post to the official site for the Zigapane Project reunion. Okay.
So I'm going to just put this out here. This is probably a quote-unquote classic for younger folks, because according to this is a 2006 series. I had never heard of it before that. Not saying that I'm the end all and be all of mech anime series or anime in general, but you know, you hear things, and this one, sure, but I stand behind what I said. But hey,
Roddykat was like, who?
Right, pretty much. Because like I have watched a lot of anime, well, a good bit of anime, much more the mecha anime. Again, not the end all be all, but I'm just saying I was like, all right. Anyway, next up though, Bleach 1000 Year Blood Wars returning after a week off for a recap, which again, like I said last week, a clip show, as you know, or a recap show or clip show. This is one and the same at this point. And this article is going into a little bit of catch up on its own about what has gone on up until then. You will be happy to know, if you are not aware, that new episodes are currently being will show up on Hulu in the U.S. and Disney Plus and most other countries. So if you've got those 3 magic letters, you can catch up, like some of us are probably going to end up doing when we get to that point, because we don't have Hulu. These new episodes are released at 7:30 a.m. Pacific. That's 10:30 a.m. Eastern. Subtitled release of episode 22 set for Saturday, September 9th. Dubbed episodes, who cares? But shortly after. And yeah, there you go. Next up.
Alrighty, so in the author's note at the end of My Hero Academia's 3rd chapter, Kohei Horikoshi mentions that initially he was going to go in a much different direction with the character Bakugo, and apparently it turns out that if he'd gone in that different direction, the story would have been markedly different than what than what fans know of the story today. Bottom line, Bakugo has developed into a very strong co-lead for this manga and anime.
Yeah, which actually that article puts us squarely into the manga corner. But before we continue that, I'm just going to throw this in here for the anime corner really quickly, in that there was a new trailer for Castlevania Nocturne that came out today, and I know there are people who are waiting for that, including myself. September 28th is when Castlevania Nocturne, aka the newest season of Castlevania anime, pops off. And it says here, according to it focuses on Richter, who's the son of Trevor and Cypher from the previous series, and I can't wait for that. Now on to the manga corner.
Transmute.
Nice. Shonen Jump begins title culling to make room for a new Next Wave project. Not to be confused with the Marvel comic book, which, hey, it's a good book. You should read it. So it says here, Shonen Jump canceled a title called Fabricant 100 to make room for titles it believes may have an even brighter future as a series, which, wow, way to have confidence. Over the next weeks, 3 new series will make their debut in the magazine as a part of the Next Wave initiative. whose authors were all nominees for the Tezuka Osamu Cultural Prize Award. As revealed in Shonen Jump number 40, Fabricant 100 concluded the story with this past week's publication of its 36th chapter. I'm trying to see what is the new stuff. Here we go. Yoshihiko Hayashi's Mama Yuyu, Takuro Hokazono's Kagurabachi, and Elk Itsumo's Two on Ice are the new series that are going to be debuted. And this article goes into that, but those new shows, but I will not. You can read it for yourself in the show notes. Next up.
All righty, so we're in comic books, comic book news now. So surprise, surprise, Image Comics just had its weirdest crossover in years. Now, Image Comics crossover is, crossing over is nothing new. They crossed over relatively early on in their existence. But now, in a new title, Local Man Gold number 1, there was a gathering of a surprising number of Image characters. So that's spoilers for Local Man Gold number 1 from Tim Seeley and Tony Fleeks.
Yeah. Which I think that was from last week, I guess. But neither one of us was reading that. Okay, come on, stop that. New Transformers canon could include other Hasbro properties, which this will be happy news for Agent 70, includes Micronauts and, say it with me, folks, Rom Space Knight.
No! Leave Rom out! Let Rom go back to Marvel. License him back.
So this is slight spoilers for Void Rivals number 3, which was from a couple of weeks back. Specifically, the letters page in which Kirkman answers some reader questions about such things. Like I said, I won't go into the whole thing, but he basically teased out the possibility of such characters such as Rom Space Knight can kind of fold into this new Energon universe at some point. Because we already know Transformers and G.I. Joe are already in the mix, which I'm still not entirely sure how G.I. Joe is tied into this, because none of that has bared out yet, but I guess we'll find that out. So, next up.
All right, next up. DC announces a full Batman Day 2023 lineup. This next Saturday, September 16th, is Batman Day 2023. First and foremost, DC is continuing its Batman Day tradition of putting out free special edition comics. This year, the free offerings available in comic shops include Batman Catwoman, The Gotham War, Prelude Batman Day Special Edition number 1, Batman and the Joker, The Deadly Duo number 1, Batman Day Special Edition, and Batman number 608, again, Batman Day Special Edition. Fans will also be able to purchase both the Batman 89 hardcover collection and Batman Gargoyle of Gotham number 1. They always put out that 608, man.
Yeah. What is that book? Do you know what issue that is?
608 is Hush, if I'm not mistaken. It's
okay.
Jim Lee.
Okay. Yeah, see, I'm not.
It's the first issue of Jim Lee's run on Batman.
Gotcha. Cool. There's some other stuff with Max and some other things, but we don't necessarily need to go into all that. They got stuff planned. I'm sure we'll probably revisit some of this next week. But DC's Robin is now an AI thanks to Batman Justice Buster. So I guess this probably should have been closer to the manga corner, but whatever. This came out this week, if I'm not mistaken, but I didn't get a chance to read it. So it says that Batman Justice Buster has the Cape Crusader notice that crime in Gotham City has dangerously escalated in the face of his own crime-fighting efforts. No surprise there. In order to combat this rise in violent crime and the growing number of increasingly deadly supervillains, Menacing Gotham, Bruce Wayne develops an advanced artificial intelligence program dubbed Robin to help him on his superhero mission. However, this spurs several severe consequences that not even the Dark Knight can anticipate as his adventures take an even more harrowing turn. And then the rest of the article is an interview with the writer of this, and this comes from DC's collaboration with Coden Shaw. So, like I said, it probably should have been closer to the manga corner, but whatever. I might check this out actually because I'm curious as to what this thing is. Next up.
Alrighty, so in an interview with CBR, Al Ewing explains the inspiration behind the new book Avengers Inc. Bottom line is that Al Ewing says that it grew originally out of the question of, quote, who the Avengers avenge, of taking that name and getting serious with it. He further elaborated and said that it was, based off of his love for the Janet Van Dyne character, and he wanted to pair her up with someone in a duo that would be the core of a new Avengers book, Solving Mysteries. Okay. Sounds like sounds like fun. It'll be out next week, September 13th.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited for this book. Again, Al Ewing, The Wasp, Vision, Victor Slade. Hey, it's all great. Next up, though, stronger than before. Wolverine officially gains Helverine powers as Marvel's new Ghost Rider. This is spoilers for Wolverine number 36. Did that come out? Was it out this week? I guess I'm going to assume, because I know that Ghost Rider Wolverine thing also happened this week. But I won't go too far in it because I know Agent 70 may or may not be reading Wolverine still.
On and off.
Yeah.
I know that he's been crossing over with Ghost Rider, so it's interesting.
Oh, I wonder if this might have been from like week before last. I can't remember because that whole team up with them thing has been going on for the last couple of weeks. So
right.
Next up though,
Marvel is introducing Dinosaur Avengers in the Fantastic Four. It looks like it is in the next issue because we saw an image of this in the preview for the next issue in this week's Fantastic Four. So this is a preview for that issue, Fantastic Four number 12, on sale October 4th.
Mm-hmm.
Dinosaurs, Avengers, get with it.
Why not? The book's done other strange things, so why not? Gods walk among us as Marvel revealed their, quote, secret Peter Parker identities. This is from Jonathan Hickman and Valerio Schiti. Let's see. It says that Hickman basically says that, hey, cosmic entities such as the In-Betweener and Eternity can walk on Earth in human form. And I guess these folks are doing so in this book, or will be shown to be doing so in this book. Let's put it that way. There's this thing in this thing that says the world of gods is complex and layered. Like, it's a Hickman book. I'm not surprised by that. So this is going to be an interesting read when we get around to it. Next up, Toy Corner.
Kind of. So at least this story is a mix of the new limited edition membership kit for Marvel Unlimited, which is not a sponsor but a tool that we utilize a lot. But neither of us are the high-level members that get all of the exclusive things that come with the digital subscription. This year, the new limited edition membership kit includes a Marvel Legends Nova in a red suit. And when I first saw this, I was like, red suit? When did he have this? Oh, when he was in the New Warriors. Mm-hmm. That's the suit he's wearing on the cover of New Warriors #1.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are a completist and you really need that version of Nova, guess what? This may be one of your ways to get it. They may reissue it down the line. They may not.
Oh, I feel fairly confident they probably will.
You never know. But ultimately, if you really, really have a hankering for it, this is how you get it.
Yeah, this was also
a new Marvel Unlimited limited edition membership of $99.99 a year.
Yeah, which
you get I was about to say you get exclusive comics too, and a patch and stuff.
Yeah, I need to re-up on Marvel Unlimited because they just was like, hey. They just sent me an email a day or two ago. I'm not doing this, but still.
Right.
Next up, though, Marvel celebrates the Infinity Saga. I couldn't remember whether we did this one or not previously, or we probably have talked about it, but I'm bringing it up here. So basically, the pre-orders are live as of August 31st for the Infinity Saga Marvel Legends figures, which includes Bruce Banner, Black Widow, Captain America, War Machine, Spider-Man, Thor, and Iron Man Mark II and Mark 46. This article, it does have some pictures at the of some of them. So,
yeah, they've redone some of them. I like the new Chris Evans head sculpt. Maskless head sculpt for the Winter Soldier Captain America.
As you can see right there on the video version.
So that's actually, that's tempting, but I'm not that big on the movie versions. But, if you were big on the movie versions, that's probably a better one to have than the first one.
Right. Yeah, definitely better likenesses for all of these. So as I scroll through them. Cool. Next up.
All right, give me a moment. Retro-carded Marvel Legends add Moon Knight and debut Spider-Man. Now, this is something I'm probably going to jump on because these are Target exclusives, and I'm probably going to pre-order the Amazing Fantasy style Spider-Man, which I did not pick up the first time around. I did get the retro Moon Knight, the OG Moon Knight, as it were. But if you missed out on it, guess what? You can still get it, but through Target.com.
Yeah. Here we go. Scroll through those images. Cool stuff. Thankfully, I'm sure Agent 7 is glad he did not get this one. Disney Lord Candle's second. What do you do? Oh, wait. I thought I turned that off. Hate this. Disney Lord Candle's second chapter will include Raya, Winnie Pooh, and more Mulan. So yeah, there's if you thought that Disney Lord Candle stuff was going to end with the first set of cards that apparently are very hard to find, or at least for me anyway, then hey, there you go. Let's see. Is there anything else about release date or anything? No, not really. But hey, if you're out there playing Disney Lord Canon, I know at least one person that is. I hope you're enjoying yourself. Next up.
1 second. Gargoyles Remastered brings a classic 2D side-scroller to modern consoles in October. So this is some video game news. So Gargoyles Remastered is releasing on October 19th. Publisher Disney Games has announced, and with a stylish, fresh coat of paint. So the original Gargoyles was a 2D side-scrolling action platformer released exclusively on the Sega Genesis, in 1995.
Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis. I vaguely remember this game because I know Disney. There's a bunch of Disney games going on around this time, like Lion King and DuckTales and all that kind of good mess. That was out. Well, DuckTales was previous, so don't at me. But still, I know there's some Gargoyles fans out there, so I'm pretty sure this is definitely for them if they know about it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm a Gargoyles fan. I wasn't playing. I didn't have all the consoles, so that's the thing.
I'm also finding myself. And
in 1995, I was a little post, like video game at home
Well, I was not, but yeah, I was still kind of too busy to play video games because I was working all the time. But yeah. But yeah, like I said, I barely remember this one. I'm gonna have to go and see if I can. Well, I feel like I have a way to play it already. But I'll be looking into this anyway. Next up, though, new Transformers figures blends robots in disguise with Frankenstein's monster. This is one of the few times where I can safely say that I probably won't be looking for this one or checking out for this one. The new monstrosity is called Frankentron. And it draws inspiration from the classic 1931 film Frankenstein, just in time for Halloween. And it is priced at $44.99 and slated to release in fall 2023. And pre-orders are open at this point. So if any of that sounds good to you, have at it. Next up.
All right, Armin Shimmerman and Terry Farrell joined the Delta Flyers podcast for Star Trek Deep Space Nine rewatch. All right, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I'm opening this article now. Early in the pandemic, Star Trek Voyager stars Garrett Wang and Robert Duncan McNeil started the Delta Flyers podcast. So the duo watched, recapped, and reviewed an episode of Voyager, making their way every week through the show chronologically. A few weeks ago, they wrapped things up with the Voyager finale Endgame. Oh, there's a common title. Having rushed to get it all in the proverbial can before the SAG-AFTRA strike started so they would not leave listeners hanging. Now they've announced that the popular podcast will begin a new chapter as they rewatch Star Trek Deep Space Nine with 2 stars of that series. That's cool.
Yeah, that is cool. The funny part, when I saw this, I was like, well, when they get to that last season, I'm sure Terry Farrell's going to have something to say. Or maybe not.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, I knew they were. I remember hearing about them doing this during Pandemic, and I never watched it because I was like, you know what? If you're gonna do it properly, you're gonna watch with them, because I don't know, because they're doing recaps and not necessarily like watching while they're talking. So, and I'm sure their insights on probably behind the scenes stuff is quite amusing. So yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not so keen on doing any kind of rewatch of Voyager, but Deep Space Nine is something else. And what's interesting about this is that they can't start with DS9 until after the SAG-AFTRA strike is over, as actors are still prohibited from promoting, quote, struck work, unquote, but they still have a lot of episodes lined up. And they posted this note on Patreon that has a lot of interview. There's basically talks about who they have scheduled to interview.
Right. So yeah, I know some people are probably surprised. It was like, what does podcast have to do with the strike? You'd be surprised because I've heard, this is not the first time I've heard of people not doing certain podcasts because of strikes going on for the reasons mentioned. So
right. There's like everything from like They Call Us Bruce, which focuses on Asians and Asian American shows and stories. They've talked about how because of the strike they've had to kind of redo some of what they work on. So I know exactly what these podcasts that have Hollywood based content have to go through now.
Right. So
so Robert Duncan McNeil is Paris. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And
and
Garrett Wang is Kim, Harry Kim.
Oh, he's the Asian guy. Him I know. I had to figure out who Robert Duncan McNeil was.
Right. Which, hey, Paris shows up in. Paris is a part of the Star Trek ongoing comics. So I wonder if he's mentioned it during this podcast or during any of these podcasts. So. But yeah, like I said, I want to definitely check those out. I know you can still find the old episodes out there, probably on Spotify and whatnot. So, but yeah, I will definitely be looking forward to checking out Quark and Dex on the
That's pretty cool.
on
That's
the
pretty
DS9
cool.
watch.
But like I said, I would be much more interested in doing a rewatch of DS9.
Oh,
with them.
absolutely.
You know, despite the fact that wait, DS9 is exclusively on Paramount now, right?
Possibly. I know all of that stuff is definitely over there, but some of that stuff is made it to other places. So I'm not sure. It's probably is at this point. I'm not sure.
Right. Just curious because that would be one thing I'd be interested in doing a rewatch. It's like I remember doing the West Wing Weekly.
Mm-hmm.
I love the West Wing, and that podcast is one of my favorite rewatch podcasts.
Mm-hmm. So, and I'm sure by other means, I'm sure you can if you don't have access to Paramount Plus, you can find it on other streaming services in other places. I thought wait, I thought Matt was supposed to be getting you on his. No, man, we can talk about that later. Since that did come up during the prior show. Nevertheless, last one on the slate, but I'm probably going to throw another one in. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles' new team of ninjas, Ninja Turtles, were originally just an Easter egg. So if you've been keeping up with the Last Ronin stuff, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Last Ronin stuff, specifically the more, well, actually, no, even the original series, there was the introduction of 4 new turtles, and there is actually. They've come back up a couple of different times since then, including this re-evolution book, which I don't know if it's out yet or if it's a spoiler thing, it must already be out, but I can't remember if I read it already. Nevertheless, apparently Eastman says that during a Comic-Con interview, Kevin Eastman and co-writer Tom Waltz and the rest of the creative team were talking about the upcoming The Last Ronin 2 Re-Evolution and discussed what went into crafting the next chapter of the lore. During the interview, Tom Waltz revealed that Kevin Eastman simply decided to include 4 turtles in a terrarium in the final issue just to see how people react. And I do remember reacting to that when we talked about The Last Ronin. So I was wondering if they were going to do anything with that, and turns out they did. So congratulations, worked as advertised. And there's a little quote here, but I don't necessarily have to go into all of that. But that's interesting to know. I want to bring up one thing before we hit the last ad read that I just saw, and I'll put it in the show notes. But Tuesday, September 12th, the 5th episode of Star Wars Ahsoka is going to head to theaters.
Whoa!
Yes, it says here, those who wish to attend can RSVP for a nearby screening via GoFobo, I guess. Is that how that's pronounced? So yeah, there's this will be in the show notes. It'll take place at AMC theaters across. Let's say it's a total of 10 one-time screenings of Ahsoka Episode 5 will take place at AMC theaters across the United States on the evening of September 12th. And this lists there's a list here of participating theaters. Most in
you.
Right. No, most of the stuff is major cities. So I'm
assuming there's some place in New York that has.
Yep. AMC Empire 25 IMAX to be specific.
Oh, I know where that is. That's Times Square, I think.
Yeah, but like I said, every place else is Chicago, Dallas, LA, Philly, DC, et cetera,
I could go after work.
Yeah, there you go. It says okay, now it just goes into stuff but yeah, so yeah, if you check this particular episode of our podcast before that happens and you're interested, hey, you can go check that out. A nice little theater experience for that show. Seemed like that might be pretty cool if you are in a major city one of the major cities that is happening. And that is it, folks, for the news. Can we get one last ad read?
Our last ad read of the night is for Amazon. Help us keep our podcast free by shopping at Amazon. Visit cspn.us and click the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of that page. From there, scroll down cspn.us and click on the Amazon link to shop. Purchase items from Amazon as you normally would, whether it's books, music, electronics, jewelry, apparel, or Marvel Legends, except for those Target exclusives. For every purchase made on Amazon through our link, Amazon sends the CSPN a payment that helps us keep the Comic Book Chronicles podcast free for our listeners at no extra cost to you. Amazon.com through cspn.us. Do it today.
There we go. I'll just fill that in later. All right, folks. We are at the end of this here podcast, or I guess there is Toy Corner, but not really Toy Corner, or Show and Tell, whatever you want to call it. But hey, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is out on physical release. It's already been on digital.
Both of us, we both got our copies.
Yep. So it's out there. We're not being sponsored by them. Just saying, hey, it's a good movie. You should watch it.
Right. I gotta make some time, like within the next week or two, to just sit down and rewatch and pause to my heart's content and look at all of the Easter eggs that that were just impossible to see.
Right.
Watching that theater.
Right, because things went fast and furious at a certain point, or at most points of that movie.
Yep.
So, but yeah, I plan on doing something similar. In fact, I said something about doing a double feature, but I was like, I feel like I should wait till the next one comes out and then just do them all. see how they to mesh well together. We know that this one and the next one will, because there is a part 1, part 2. But hey, we'll see how they bring it on home. But with that, folks, we're going to call it a night here because it's almost midnight, and I am hungry. So I feel like Goku when I say that. There was a couple of other things I could have brought up, but we're going to leave that for some other time because I need to pour through it.
They're showing it in Orlando, Florida. That's not a major city.
I mean, it is for Disneyland, but yeah, I know.
I know. That's. I was going to add that. I knew, but thankfully you did first.
Right. Yeah, I was like, okay, I knew should have known it was going to be one of those things. But yeah, kind of crazy. Anywho, with that, folks, I have been Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at News Nerds Need on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram. Agent_70 on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. PCN_Dirt on Twitter, Pop Culture Network on Twitter, popculturenetwork.com, and all his own umbrella sites therein. Tim DOGG8, Tim DOGG98 on Twitter. CB Chron on Twitter, which is the Comic Book Chronicles Twitter account. The Kliq Nation on Twitter, the TheKliqNation, thekliqnation.com, and of course, first and foremost, over at comicbook.com under the name Timothy Adams, where he's over there writing his face off.
Now I'm heading over to the GoFobo website to see if I can get tickets.
Nice.
To go after work.
Right.
I'm like, it's literally like 2 blocks away from my office. 3 blocks. Yeah, 2 blocks away from my office.
Well, that's nice
3
and
blocks.
convenient.
Yes, it's close.
Yeah. You can find this here podcast on the Coastal Podcast Network, the CSPN.us.
Do it today.
You can find apparently The Matrix on Peacock, and maybe possibly not on Max much longer, but
It says join waitlist.
That's a tease for next week, folks. Wait,
it says join waitlist. It's over. It's too late already.
Probably, yeah. Because usually, which is weird, because I always wonder. Like, I know, are there people like stalking Fandango and or places? I mean, obviously, people get
no. It's just like GoFobo. That's the thing. It's just one Yeah, it says this event is full. Join
No,
waitlist.
I know that, but what I'm saying is like AMC puts out a lot of between AMC and Regal and them put out a lot of emails and such for this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of wonder if there are people who are really just like like checking for those for this kind of for this to happen.
Right.
So that's kind of wild. But you know what? Sure, why not?
Good for them, though. Good for them.
Yeah. And I kind of wonder how far ahead in advance that they put it. Well, actually, I do know because I get some of those emails, but regardless. Nevertheless, you can find us. I did CSPN already. I did the thing. So you can find us every Thursday night, mostly every Thursday night, 9:30-ish Eastern Standard Time, when we record live on the YouTube channel of The Kliq Nation. That's youtube.com/The Kliq Nation and twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles. And we thank folks for being out, whether you catch this live or after the fact.
Guys, make sure to hit like and subscribe and leave us the 5-star reviews. And hit the notification button so that you know when we're on live.
Yeah. And if you're out there playing Starfield, hey, I'll see you amongst the stars or something like that, whatever, because I know people are hitting that hot and heavy, much like myself. And with that, folks, this has been the Comic Book Chronicles. Peace.
Peace. One.
Wakanda forever!